Hey y'all, how y'all doing out there? Yeah, Shyheda Isofine, y'all. I'm back again with another video. Now I hope y'all doing well out there. I hope that everything is fine with y'all. So today, I decided to come on here and tell y'all a little bit more about myself and where I was born and town I was born in, the city rather, and just give y'all a little more information on the old girl. So, it all began in the year 1950. I was born in a small city called Chester, Pennsylvania, which is a city between Philadelphia and Delaware. Now, my mother said that I was a 7th-month baby, a premature baby. My birthday is in June instead of August because I was premature. My mother said I was so tiny that sometimes she used to fit me in the dresser drawer. She said I had to always be rushed to the hospital because there was always a problem with me. She said I didn't have any eyebrows or fingernails. I don't know. I must have been a mighty pitiful baby. I was born in a hospital called Mercy Hospital. It's been demolished many, many years. Many years. I I the house I lived in, or it wasn't a house. I call it a walk-up flat. Forgive me, y'all, but that's how I pictured it. It was a walk-up flat. You walk up these steps, you turn to the left, was our 2-room apartment, I guess you'd call it. 2-room flat. Um, and right next door to it was I call it the toilet because that's all that was in there was the toilet. It had a door on it with the latch. There was no sink, no bathtub in it. We watched stuff in the kitchen. Now, next to the bathroom was a door that led down the farscapes, which led you to the outside yard, and you go around the side, it leads you to the front. Okay, then when you first come up the steps, if you turn to the right, was my Aunt Marion and my Uncle Frank's apartment. They had a whole apartment. Yay, they had the apartment. We had the 2 rooms. But anyway, our 2-room flat, when you first enter, as I can remember, it was just a kitchen. There was a 4-legged kerosene stove. And you see, we lived over top of Mom and Pop's store. And on the outside of the store was a kerosene pump where you could go down and get your kerosene. Also on the inside, they sold the hot roasted peanuts. Oh my gosh, I miss those peanuts. They were so good and they were so nice and hot. I really miss them. But anyway, so we lived over top of the Mom and Pop store. Now, like I said, our 2-room flat had the stove and the On one side was a zinc, and that's all it was, just a zinc. And over top of it was a cabinet. Probably was one cabinet, two cabinets. Wasn't many. I think it was like one or two cabinets. And we had kitchen table and four chairs. That's all I can remember. Then we had, that's all I can remember that was in the kitchen, and our ice box. We had an ice box. I remember the iceman would come and bring those great big blocks of ice and put it in the top of the ice box, and that's how we kept our meats cold. I remember one time we lived in another house when I was much older, and at one point we didn't have electricity. And so they would put the meats out on the roof, wrap them real good, and put the meats on the roof in the winter so that they could stay froze. But anyway, back to where I was born. And so the other room was the bedroom, and it was divided with I guess my mom put a curtain or something up there, and on the other side of the room, my sister and I slept, and then the opposite side, my mom and dad slept in. Um, but yeah, that's how we lived when I was born. I guess I can remember that, I guess up until the age 7 or 8, because I know at one point my mom and my dad had split up, and we moved on with my stepdad. So, but I guess I can remember from around 7 or 8 years old when I was when we were still with my dad. My dad was a Rolling Stone. Wherever he laid his hat was a song. But my mom, she didn't play with my dad like that. She knew he ran around, and I never seen it, thank the Lord, or experienced it. But she told us about the time that she cut his ear because she caught him with another woman. So she had cut him on the ear. You know, I've never seen my mom and dad fight. I've never even really seen them argue. I guess I was too young. But she would tell me how my dad used to run around with other women and things like that. But I loved my dad. I loved both of my parents. Both of my parents. But my dad, he was something else. But yeah, so that's where I was born. And if you go over to Aunt Marion and Uncle Frank's apartment now, to say that was like 6 or 7 feet away from our little 2-room flat that we lived in. Oh, and another thing about that, it would be times that we didn't have electricity. So we would do our homework and read by a kerosene lamp. And, you know, sometimes my mom would sit there and read us stories and everything by that kerosene lamp. Ooh, God forbid if the house ever caught on fire, the rooms ever caught on fire, rather, but it never did. I thank God for that. And, well, we had the bathroom, like I said, it was outside of the 2 rooms. It was on the side, right next to our 2 rooms. So what my mom would do at night, she would put a bucket in the bedroom, and she would pour bleach in it and cover it up. So if we had to go to the bathroom, we use that. Now, if we had to do anything other than urinate, then my mom or my dad would go out in the hall and guard us while we used the bathroom. But other than that, we would use that bucket. And I also remember I didn't see my mom have the miscarriage, but I remember her going to the hospital, and then I got up and I looked in the bucket and I seen all this red stuff, this blood and everything in there. I don't remember who it was. I don't know if it was my dad or if I asked my mom when she came home. But anyway, what had happened was she had had a miscarriage, uh, evidently in the bucket. So she went to the hospital. Now about my Uncle Frank's. Now he had the apartment, and it was only those two rooms in my Uncle Frank's apartment. And we were the only ones in the building. You just come up the steps, on the left was us. You go around the corner and it was his apartment. Now, my Uncle Frank was my uncle by marriage. I loved him. I loved Uncle Frank. But he had married my Aunt Marion, which was my father's sister. And the story was that he had married her when she was 14 years old, y'all. 14. And he was much older than her. So that's another story. But his apartment was, when you enter in, there was his kitchen. And all the rooms was like straight back. There was no turning around the corner. The room over here, a room up, you go straight back. First is the kitchen. When you first come in, go back to the other room, which should have been, I imagine, the living room. But my uncle slept in that room. Then the next bedroom was the room that my sister and I slept in when we would spend the nights. And he would, on Friday nights, he would take his 5-gallon can, and he would take myself and my sister down to the store. And my sister was younger than me. She was 8 years. She was 8 years younger than me. But he would take us down to the store on Friday nights, and he would get his kerosene can filled, and he would get quart bottle of Springfield orange soda. I never forget the name, Springfield orange soda. When I got older and got my first apartment, I used to have cases of sodas delivered to the house. But he would take us down there, and he would get a quart of vanilla, a pint of vanilla ice cream, and a quart of Springfield soda. And we go back upstairs to his apartment, and he would make us ice cream floats, and then we would sit on the edge of the bed with our legs dangling down, and we would watch Dagwood and Blondie and eat our ice cream float. And I always think about that, from time to time. And it's a strange thing that happened when my Uncle Frank passed away. That night, we were in the apartment with my Aunt Marion, it's my mother, myself, and my sister. And we were there with him until the ambulance came. I don't know what happened. I don't know how he passed away or what happened. But anyway, he was taken away. And that night, my mom slept in his bed, and so did I. We both slept in the bed. And then my mother said the next morning, she said that she could hear him walking across the floor. But I do know one thing. Before they took him away, my Aunt Marion was sitting on the side of the bed with him, and he counted 7 of her fingers. And she passed away 7 months later. I guess he said if he couldn't keep her home, he'd take her with him. I don't know. And like I said, that's another story. I'll tell that too. But, well, the story is that, like I said, the second room was should have been the living room, but that was the room my sister and I slept in when we spent the nights, because sometimes we would stay there when my mother went out or sometimes just to be there to keep my Uncle Frank company because my Aunt Marion would be going all the time. Now, the next bedroom was the front bedroom. That was the room my Aunt Marion slept in. And I used to always wonder why they didn't sleep together. They were married, but as I got older, I figured it out. But now she had the front bedroom, which was directly over the store. Now, she could see from her window right across the street. It was a big house. It was a party house. And back in the day, what they called the speakeasy, and everybody used to go over there to drink and, have their little parties. She was taking care of this boy, and I still remember his name. He couldn't talk, and he called him Boy Skinny. And every time you go over there, she'd be holding this boy on her lap. He was a big boy, too. Oh, he was a big boy. But yeah, so she would always, that would be her hangout. I didn't really know of other places or things she did. I don't remember all that, but I do remember she would always be over there at that speakeasy. So, but my Uncle Frank, all I knew that he did, he would go to work, come home. He always wore the overalls with the suspenders. And the funniest thing about him, years later when he passed away also, and I became grown, and I lived across the street from this barber shop. And every time I went past the barber shop, I would look in because one of the barbers looked exactly like well, I won't say exactly, but he favored my Uncle Frank so much down to the bald head. I couldn't stop watching this man every time I walked past the barber shop. But yeah, yeah. So that's where I was born and raised, y'all. And that bathroom, it just had a latch on the door, so it wasn't really safe to use at night because I don't remember, but I can imagine that the downstairs door probably stayed unlocked unless, like maybe my mom or dad or my Uncle Frank, Aunt Marion, whoever, maybe at the end of the night they would go down there and lock it if there was even a lock on there, I don't know. And then there was the door that I said that led to the back fire escape so people could come up or down. So maybe that's why my mom kept a bucket in the bathroom because you could just walk in. Maybe there was no locks on the door back then. And back then, things were nowhere as bad as it is now. We could walk the streets any time of day or night. Every so often you might hear somebody getting shot or killed or whatever. If anything, maybe they would rob you, or it might have been a few break-ins. But they say usually people that break in your house are people that know you and know what you have in your house. So, things weren't as bad. We used to sleep with our windows up because it was so hot. And we didn't have this central air and all this stuff. And they had air conditioners, but we didn't have one. We had fans, and that's how I learned how to make the paper fans. So we had the screens in the window, and remember the slide, how you slide that screen in? Or we just put the window up and get air, open the door. We slept there half the night with the door open, nobody bothers. We used to sit outside sometimes. Even when I became grown and on my own, my first apartment was like 3 or 4 doors from my mom. And I had a friend that lived next door to my mom, and her mom lived across the street. So me and my friend and a couple other people, we would sit outside sometimes all night. We'd bring our TV outside and set it on the chair and sit out there and look at television because it would be so hot. Yeah, so I just thought I'd give you a little bit of how I grew up. I know it sounds very ancient, but the thing about it is families were close back then. I mean, we used to sit around in front of the fire and listen to the radio, listen to the different stories on the radio and the music on the radio. We would do more reading. I love to read. I always love to read. I have so many books now. So many books. But I don't read as much, but I still go back to it every now and then. I'll read a book. But my eyes aren't as good as they used to be. And I don't know why I won't get the audio books. I don't know why. But I guess because I'm so used to just picking up a book, looking at the words, and reading them. That's one way to keep up with your spelling. You got to see the words sometimes. It's good to listen to them, too. And eventually I'll probably get the audio books. But right now, I don't know. But I just wanted to give you a little story of where I come from. Even though it may sound ancient, y'all, but I'm just telling y'all the truth, how it was. I ain't ashamed because we had love. So, I just believe that the families, for the most, were closer some time ago because we didn't have all this stuff to distract us. Now we have so many things to distract us. With the phones that do everything, the laptops. I mean, you don't really have to do too much of anything once you learn all this technology. You don't have to do too much, but I always told my children, and don't depend on the machine. Keep things in your mind. It's as long as you know how to, what did I tell them? Read and count. I told them, as long as they know how to read and count. It was one other thing, and I can't remember myself. I said, that way people won't get over on you. And don't never, ever sign anything without reading it first. And if you don't understand what you're reading, then you ask somebody to explain it to you before you sign anything. But as long as you keep up with your reading and your math, you always got to know how to read and count and understand what you're reading. You learn how to know how to count, can't nobody get over on you. I used to always tell my children, count your change before you leave the store. Because once you leave the store and you come back and you say that you didn't get your right change, then it's just going to be your word against theirs. And the store cashier should always count your change out to you. And that way, it won't be no problem. But, yes, I just wanted to give you a little snippet. Something's on my mouth. I just wanted to give you a little bit of where I come from, y'all. Yeah. A little small city that's now filled with violence. Ooh, it's filled with violence, but it's everywhere. It's everywhere. But I just thought I'd tell you all that, and then I may come back with some more of where I come from. I'm trying to think, did I leave anything out of that part? But back my Uncle Frank, he made the best homemade biscuits. Every Sunday he would make biscuits, and then he would give us whatever dough was left over so we could play and make like we were baking bread. And then one Christmas, well, it used to be this man that used to come around. Oh, well, I can't think of his name right now, but he would come around and sell household goods, things for your kitchen and towels, pots, pans. Um, and so one Christmas, my mom had got me this, like the Easy Bake Oven. I don't even know if they were called Easy Bake Ovens then, but she got me this little oven. And my Uncle Frank would give me and my sister the dough, and we would make like we were baking bread and all. But, that's just, oh, and about that bucket, y'all. My mom, every morning, she would wash it out, and then she would put bleach in it again. She would put bleach in it before, when she first put it out at night, and then in the morning, she would wash it out and put bleach in it, okay? So I don't want nobody saying, oh, that's nasty, because you never know what you may have to do before it's over. I mean, there's plenty of people using buckets and everything now because people don't have water. Some people don't have lights. That's why I was saying in another video, we may have to go back doing a lot of things that we're not accustomed to doing. As long as you be clean about it, because you never know what's coming around the corner. But nowadays, I think they got them, you can get the portable toilets or whatever. So as long as you be clean, you got to do what you got to do to survive, and it'll carry you a long way. I learned from my mama how to survive, okay? And I'd rather use a bucket in the room than than the toilet in the hall. Y'all got to forgive me, y'all. Y'all really got to forgive me, but, I just thought it was time I began telling y'all these stories about me. And everything I tell you is true. And when I just told y'all that, I really feel ancient. But no, that's the way it was then, okay? And through all the trials and tribulations, I'm still here. And I learned a lot. Some people don't know because they didn't have to go through the hardships. So some people don't know what to do. So I'm here to tell you. No. But anyway, I just want to tell y'all that I love y'all. And I want y'all to grow to love me too with all my mistakes and quirky habits and talking about one thing and getting off on the other. But again, as time goes by, I just hope to get better with this. And I see that I'm gaining more and more survivors and more viewers. And I am so thankful because I really, really love what I'm doing. And I'm going to continue to do it. And I hope I get better along the way. I know I've made a lot of mistakes in these videos. Like the video I did the other day when I said that my grandson was providing breakfasts in the whole month of March for the women of our city who lost their children due to these drive-bys and all. Well, I didn't mean to say the month of March. I meant to say every Saturday in March that he is providing the breakfasts every Saturday, not every day, y'all. But I'm always making mistakes, and so I always come back and I let you know the real deal. And as far as the thing that I was showing you the other day about the ultraviolet, where is it? Just here. I still haven't figured it out yet, y'all, because I haven't bothered to get out. And what you think I forgot, I just haven't did it yet. So when I do, I will let you know how it works. So, with that being said, y'all, I want you to like, share, subscribe, and hit that bell so you'll be notified of another video. And I love y'all, and I hope y'all love me too. Peace, love, and hair grease. My hands are ashy. I forgot to put lotion on them. Forgive me, y'all.